said to myself, this affair never gonna go so.
And we're back. Now we're back. We actually had a pretty good discussion, actually right after between the segments, just going over the whole issues. But I mean, I think we're now moving more on to military and the policing state, and we did talk about a little bit more over like Ferguson and kind of like, do you think? And I think one of the producers in the room actually asked you the question of, do you think Obama is starting? What was it, a race war? Or?
Yeah. Well, basically a racial divide in this country, but.
And do you really see like a real big racial divide? Because I feel like this is something that just brought up so randomly, just because of like, you know, the policing state and its past with minorities. I mean, you know, and people of other race. Could you elaborate a little bit more?
Yeah,
on
well,
this?
You know, I think that all started in 2008 with Barack Obama running for president. Obviously, there was excitement actually for someone of a different ethnic group that hasn't been represented. Before you had all white males, so obviously when an African American is interested in becoming the leader of the free world, president of the United States, there's going to be natural excitement, just like there will be with Hillary Clinton, because she's a female, and, you know, deservingly so. More representation for different groups that are really an integral part of our society. But I think that the problem is where there are people that are using skin color or gender to really prop up other illegitimate causes. And I mean, if you look at Reverend Al Sharpton and the likes, you know, these people really aren't interested in really helping people like we were talking about back there. They're just interested in making money and making a name for themselves, propping up Al Sharpton's show on MSNBC. And, you know, the same people that were organizing Occupy Wall Street were organizing the riots over in Ferguson, Missouri. So everything is money related, and so these people aren't in for principle, they're in for lining their pockets. And what I believe is a real issue in this country is when we talk about Obama, we've seen that he's intervened, and Eric Holder, an African American like Obama, they've intervened on a national level publicly in cases where African American men have died while in incidents concerning the police. Now, whether or not they were just or not and what happened, whether or not it was murder or simply
an effect of,
or simply an effect of the situation, the policeman just had to go protect himself or whatever, or just a result in Brooklyn of unfortunate circumstances and handling the process, that's up to debate, and the cases have been decided. But I think that what happened, especially in Ferguson, Missouri, where we saw the National Guard go in and Eric Holder go out there, you know, that really prompted up the riots and looting the streets, because it basically gave substance and relevance to these people, saying, hey, let's just talk about it because it's an African American issue. Now, you know, I'm not saying that there aren't issues concerning African Americans that don't matter, because there are. But also, when you're president of the United States, you represent the entire country. When you're attorney general, you represent the entire country. So you have to look at it unequivocally, black and white, and you have to represent everyone. And when you intervene like that, and we've seen it through Obama's financial redistribution of wealth, where all that's happening, and while the upper class is mostly white, that's a coincidence, or that's a result of prior times where, for the most part, business owners were mostly white, and other minority groups were not able to go own businesses or whatever, and money was brought down through family generations. And the money being brought down and securing the families, that's a very smart thing. But let's not go hurt them because of their skin color. Let's find ways for the people at the bottom to go make it to the top. And so all Obama has done in his administration is take the money from the top, put it to the bottom, but not use that money to go help people from the bottom go up. I don't think that any.
I'm kind of confused on what we're going about here. Are we trying to figure out which way we should go about organizing these people?
Yeah. Well. Here. I don't think that any money at the top should be taken away from them unjustly. Flat tax rate for everyone. Now, if we want to go really bring America together, what we do is we try to lift the bottom and middle classes up.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. You said flat tax for everyone. Could you elaborate a little bit
Flat
more?
tax rate for everyone. Let's say you make $1 million.
No, I understand the concept of flat tax, but I'm just understanding like why, seeing as how ineffective it has been, why go about something like this?
Well, the only reason to have a federal government or any government is for the common good. Now, if we
Correct.
if we talk about the issue of air, if we talk about the issue of I don't know, military or police, I think that everyone is protected universally to the same amount, hopefully, by all three, and air, police, military, and whatever other agency. And so I don't really see the point if everyone's getting the same amount of, like, in a thing like air. I don't know how if you put in more of your tax dollars, you're going to get better air. But I think that obviously air is a big issue, so everyone should put in their same common good. So if everyone wants to park, everyone chips in. So, and that's just a financial obligation. Now, there is the argument about how you have to go, oh, it hurts people at the bottom more. This was never about hurting someone. Why does it have to be about hurting someone? And, there are people out there that like to say, oh, but you're hurting other people more. No, it's about just doing what's your portion. And if everyone contributes their portion, you'll end up with the same amount required. So let's say you need a certain amount to get up to whatever goal number you need. You might increase the tax, you might decrease the tax. Everyone pays that certain portion to go meet the quota. Now, when we talk about the issue of the real racial injustices at the bottom, where the people in Congress and other politicians and the president and attorney general and state legislators and the governor, they aren't going in there to have a real debate on the issues, such as family, education, and healthcare, that are really plaguing urban America and the minorities.
Well, let's go back more to the topic about
Yeah.
about the whole Ferguson issues and whether or not Obama. Because I mean, I really want to keep it underneath the segment of the presidential campaign.
Yeah.
And how do you think Obama will address most of these issues about how he's essentially creating a race war, or I just need a little bit more leadway about how we're going about something like this.
Well, I think that Obama, he's definitely become a model for African Americans, and at the very least, I think to some extent he's inspired hope into African American men, where you can succeed. And if that's the best Obama does, we can thank Obama for being evidence that you can succeed in society as an African American. Now, whether or not Obama has actually brought about some common good, other than proving that African Americans can succeed to the highest rank of office in the world, I don't know. Because all it's been is just a racial divide, and I'm getting back to the point about in the urban communities, the affordable housing, it does nothing. I mean, it provides housing, but really, how are they really investing in the futures of the children there? How are they going to lift the people up out of there? Because the real racial divide is just keeping people in their place, and then it's just keeping people in their place.
How so?
How so? Because all they're doing.
How are people being displaced?
What I'm saying is, Congressman Engel, Nita Lowey, and the likes, they have done nothing. Nothing.
Well, you talked about displacement.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, continue.
Well, Congressman Engel, Nita Lowey, and the likes, they have done nothing to go invest in the futures of others. They have done nothing to go say, hey, let's invest in your child's education. Let's introduce family. Let's introduce healthcare into the works. All they're doing is they're using social programs such as, I don't know, government rebates and government-funded checks and the likes, to just earn their votes, when really that plays a very minimal effect, if any effect, on their futures. And all it does is it gives them some cheap money, and it's pretty insulting if they think that, oh, some government-funded check can go buy a vote. But unfortunately in America, that's what happens. And Governor Cuomo tried to do that gig too before Election Day with the rebates. And some people were smart enough to realize that, other people weren't, unfortunately. But, so this whole issue of buying the vote through social programs and the urban programs being funded unjustly.
Bill, I'm really confused on what route you're taking here. I mean, we're talking about Ferguson, all these different things.
How is it effective? How is it effective? Because the issue of
how are they affecting the candidacy of what kind of change can we see about this supposed race war that is.
Well,
that
Pat,
Obama
you
has
never
created.
introduced that question. You just.
Oh, okay. No, I'm sorry. I thought
No
that
problem.
was. I thought that was. I thought that was the route we were taking.
No.
Then what issue are you addressing then?
No, in the beginning of the segment, you asked the question of the racial divide in the country.
Exactly, and how that's implementing candidacy. Okay, then.
No. You spoke about the legacy of Barack Obama and how that was affecting him. But if we want to talk about a candidacy.
Okay, well, no, it's just a different angle to
No, I understand. A confusion of question and answer, I guess. But if we're talking...
that was my fault then. I'm just looking more for...
Yeah.
I thought we were talking underneath the idea of
No,
presidential
Pat, that's
campaign.
fine. Pat,
Right.
that's fine. But if we're talking about the future, I think that we need a candidate like Ben Carson, an African-American man who values education. He's a doctor. He was the first person to separate two conjoined twins at the head, so he understands healthcare. He understands family values. He's very Christian in his belief. He believes that a nation without God is a nation that has gone under. He actually believes in speaking unequivocally about what's right. He's not politically correct, and we don't need politically correct. We need politically incorrect, and we need to go talk about the issues that are plaguing America, such as racial injustice.
Elaborate a little more on the political correctness of such issues, because I mean I'm just trying to really figure out the whole racial issue that's plaguing essentially the whole country, because it was such a random faction when Ferguson came about, and when the name skips me right now, but
Eric Garner.
Exactly.
And Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. Like it's all of a sudden popped up, and it became such an issue. I'm just trying to figure out how are we gonna go about this again? How are we gonna go back to what we basically 1964 when we passed an amendment for equal rights for all? How are we going back to such an issue, and why is it such an issue?
Well,
because
Pat,
I thought we addressed that 40, 50 years ago.
Well, Pat,
but how is that coming back up again?
Well, Pat, I think that in the 60s we had, and beforehand in the 50s, we had leaders in this country who weren't just going to offer sound bites and be politically correct. We had leaders who were willing to sit down at a table and actually stay there overnight, have long nights of conversation, and really talk about the issues that are plaguing America. And I think that we need to get rid of this whole idea of being politically correct and not offending anyone, because in the end you're going to offend people and you're going to turn off voters. But we need to talk about how affirmative action is basically undermining all the progress people have made in the minority communities. We also need to talk about family and how we can get family back into play, because family, it's the enemy of the social media. It's the enemy of technology we've seen. And we also need to talk about how we're actually going to fight the Islamic fundamentalism and extremism.
No, we're talking about the racial profiling.
No. It's all very intertwined, because it all stems from one issue: not being able to address the problems, not even mentioning the problems. See, we need a public discussion about what is right and what is wrong, and we need to look at it from a very objective point of view. We need to say this is right, this is wrong, and we are going to choose right. And until we actually have that debate,
we need to have a debate on whether
we need to have a debate that isn't just simply political calculations.
Yeah, and we need to discuss
simply
what we're gonna judge as a paradigm about things. And I feel like many people have a strong distinction between good and bad, and that's always the discussion of a debate of whether or not this is good and this is bad. And I feel like good and bad discussions aren't really necessarily effective, but more so we need to be more effective of how we're going about the issue itself. Good and bad isn't the issue. We know what's good and bad. We need We need to figure out a route to ending violence, because violence isn't necessarily how we're going to end the issue. I mean, when we're talking on foreign policy, that's another thing. Violence is a means to an ends in that form of the language, because that's the only language that they understand. And I don't understand how. Not necessarily. It's not me that doesn't understand how family values intertwines with such issues like this.
Such issues as what?
Like the whole Ferguson, the whole.
Because
it's just
how it intertwines is because if we are unable or unwilling to go talk about the institution of family and their role in the society, just like we are unable to talk about ISIS and we're unable to talk about anything else sincerely without fear of being hurt or not getting a vote, then all of a sudden what's going to happen is these evils are going to go unchecked, and they're gonna come home to roost. And
They will come home to roost.
and you know, whether or not we talk about them, their effect and their impact is gonna be felt. But Pat, I believe by your hand signal that we have run out of time, haven't we?
I do believe
But
so.
you
But
know,
no, please tie up what you were about to say, and I think I'll.
No.
Do you mind if I have the last word?
yeah, no problem. What I was gonna say is that we need to have a better discussion of ideas. We need politicians. No, we don't need politicians. We need leaders and true citizens of this great country of the United States of America to really talk about how they feel and really come up with principled ideas and really not just have an argument on what's good and bad, but why things are good and bad. And I think that's the problem, because we say that, oh, pro-life, pro-choice, but when we have the argument of abortion versus no abortion, we don't really have the argument of why. We just have the argument of you're wrong. We don't really explain how we come to that
exactly
that feeling. And until we really have that discussion of how we do and why we do, we aren't really going to be able to draw people from one side to the other and really make things more universal. We're just going to have that marginalization where we point fingers at each other, and we can't point fingers at each other. We got to change the world together.
And you know what? I feel like you brought up a really good point with abortion, and I'm actually pretty surprised you didn't bring up your stance on abortion. But I feel like an abortion is a great example when it comes to like situations like Ferguson and Trayvon Martin and the racial divide that all of a sudden uproared our nation as a whole. But I feel like abortion brings up an issue of like how we really can't see a right from wrong, and how we can't really see how we're going to go about that. And I feel like a middle ground or some form not necessarily a middle ground, but more so of how we can find a means to the end. And that is the best form of how we're going to go about this.
A discussion, talking never hurt.
Yes, and a discussion about how we can comfortably end the turmoil that is all these issues. And I feel like that's a great way to end the show.
Yeah, well, to everyone listening today, please come out to Iona's game Friday night versus Manhattan College. Students that are thinking about attending Friday at 12:15 p.m. in Spelman Hall. 500 student tickets will be given out. The first 400, I believe, will be able to get a free T-shirt or something like that, or maybe 300 and maybe some other discount, 400, whatever. I believe everyone got an email, and everyone else in the general community, please come out and support the Gales. And thank you for your support of Iona College and Political Gridiron, and God bless you all, and go Gales, and see you next Tuesday.
Thank you, guys. This has been the Political Gridiron. I'm Patrick McGuire.
And I'm Bill Maloney, signing off. See you all later.